Hello and welcome, Steve Menendian. That was an intense match. Now, I do want to get to the match between Efro and Martell as soon as possible. We can keep talking over the start of that. So let's make sure we're getting them ready for the game. But while that's happening, wow, man, tell me your take on that.
LSV is a master, and he outplayed me. I made a couple of mistakes. I think one of the key mistakes was I miscounted the storm when I played Snapcaster Mage and Fluster Storming from my
Oh, yeah, we were wondering about that because he could exactly pay.
Yeah.
It seems like you could have gotten Pyroblast there, right?
Yeah, I was debating between the two, and I thought I had exactly enough, one more storm with the Fluster Storm in the graveyard. So I lost a card there, and I was really nervous about decking, as you guys can probably imagine.
Oh, yeah, no, I thought you were going to get decked. I honestly thought you were going to get decked.
I probably should have let the Bolt resolve, though, because I think I had two Pyromancers left, right? So I think there were two left in my library of 8 cards. Yeah. So, yeah. It was a great game. Great game. I look forward to going back and looking at all the plays.
Yeah, the only thing that I saw that looked fishy to me was that one Fluster Storm you pointed out. I mean, the rest of it felt like, I mean, obviously I was talking about your take. I'm glad I got the chance to talk to you and chat leading up to this week so I can kind of explain your take. I mean, you're welcome to tell us in your own words on how you think the matchup plays out with the threat density of your own deck.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did a lot of testing, and actually this is the one match that I really prepared for probably the most. Actually, I'll talk about it as we continue, but let me. This is actually a fascinating matchup. I have no idea how this is going to end up. Randy, do you have a sense?
I think it's going to come down to Efro's ability to find Grafdigger's Cage. He's got one main deck Grafdigger's Cage, and then he's got 3 Trinket Mages to go get it. I mean, I think that, I mean, the Dredge deck can just run over blue. It's not like Eric has any sense of racing him. It's just Eric has to stop Tom's plan, and that basically requires him to come up with a Grafdigger's Cage.
Right. But I think even with the cage, Tom has a good chance of just playing through it. I think Tom is pretty heavily favored game 1, but post board, man, it's going to get wild.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, so Tom's got the Bazaar. Looks like he had to mulligan 1 time to find it, and he's on the play. So he's got a couple dredgers in his hand, which he can pitch with the Bazaar. That's what's going to happen now. He's going to draw a couple cards. Yeah, he's got a Bloodghast. He's got a land to bring it back. So he is off to the races. This is Dredge doing what Dredge does.
He's got plenty of dredgers, and he's got the land to trigger the Bloodghast.
Right, right.
Oh, he's got double Bloodghast and Narcomoeba. Oh, the Narcomoeba. He drew the Narcomoeba, unfortunately, but.
Yeah, that part's awkward. But so he can discard Stinkweed, probably Bloodghast here. Upkeep, he can dredge twice. He'll get a bunch of Bloodghasts. Yeah, Eric cannot deal with this unless he's got the Trinket Mage, but he's not going to be able to find Grafdigger's Cage on the first turn. And even, I don't know if the first couple Bloodghasts alone will get it, but he's got to get a Grafdigger's Cage ASAP.
Tom has a non-trivial chance of just winning on turn 2 here. Oh, well. Wow. That's a good card.
Ooh. Wow. Speaking of one-ofs in Efro's main deck, there's a good one. How about you don't have that Bazaar you mulliganed for?
And he doesn't run Wasteland, which blue decks like this typically do. So that was particularly fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could have been a back to basics in theory, although he didn't. Getting the 3-man on the first turn is tricky. Yeah. All of a sudden, now what does Tom do? Now Tom has to dredge the old-fashioned way, and he does. He uses his draw phase to pick up a Stinkweed Imp, triggering a Narcomoeba. He's going to be able to play a land to get a couple of Bloodghasts. So that Strip Mine is really good for Eric, but it doesn't stop Tom from getting decent value here.
He's just going beat down plan, Eric. This is 5 damage a turn.
Right. And then whatever he gets off the couple of dredges, like he's got a Grave Troll now. Like every draw phase, Tom is going to be dredging stuff into his yard. He can hit a bridge this way. He's got a Cabal Therapy that he can sack a creature. Once he finds a bridge, that adds more beatdown as well. Pretty interesting game.
Yeah, he's gonna have to name Force or Trinket Mage. I would probably just go directly for the Throat, because if they let it in, you can just name, in other words,
I would name Trinket Mage.
Yeah, exactly.
This matchup, knowing the deck lists. Now, I also might wait next turn for a bridge from below and hope to flip a bridge before I used Cabal Therapy.
Is the middle card in his hand? Is that Mindbreak Trap?
Yes, okay. The one of Mindbreak Trap.
Not going to probably get a lot of good use in this matchup, unfortunately.
No, sir. Yeah, Eric plays an island, and that's all he can do. So Tom Picks up the Grave Troll during his draw step. Spills. Did he get a bridge? Yeah, he hit a bridge, right? I think still just the one therapy if I'm looking at his graveyard correctly. But there is now a bridge, so that Cabal Therapy can turn the Narcomoeba into a 2/2 zombie. What do you think? Therapy Trinket Mage here?
Absolutely, yeah. If he forces it, you stripped out the force and another blue card.
Right.
You know, so.
What's he going to name? What does that say? Is that Trinket Mage? Yep. Tom agrees with us. Swinging a hit.
It's always got to feel good when you blind Cabal Therapy and hit.
It does. Yeah, I mean, I think that the play most people make is, what's the scariest thing your opponent could possibly have? Name that.
Right.
Because if you hit, it's such a huge swing in the game.
And there are all kinds of like mind games with game where you next level it.
Right. Look at that. He's able to hard cast a Bloodghast there.
Looks like Eric is able to hard cast Jace here.
Indeed.
So he's gonna Jace hope to find a Trinket Mage isn't even gonna be great.
Yeah,
here.
no, Jace lives one turn, right? He dies.
Yeah, he's got to keep something on top, something good. Probably that. I don't know if the Sphinx is.
He finds Force of Will land Trinket Mage. He's almost a Consecrated Sphinx.
Could be worse.
Yeah, you want to give Mindbreak Trap's obviously going away. You're going to keep the fetch land. Does Trinket Mage do anything at this point, or is it too late?
If he had engineered explosives, he could wipe out a lot of things.
That's true. Doesn't play that one though.
Yeah, next turn is going to be the cage is going to be too late.
Yeah. So he puts the fetch land on top. He's not able to play it. He already played his land for this turn, so.
Dredge doing.
There's a chance that Consecrated Sphinx can get down and start blocking, plus drawing extra cards before Eric dies. Because I think Tom has to attack the Jace here, doesn't he?
Remind our viewers, what exactly does Consecrated Sphinx do? It's hard to
right. 4/6 flying, and whenever your opponent draws a card, you can draw 2 cards.
That is not bad. And does that count the replacement effect?
How does it interact with Dredge? I think Dredge beats it, now that you mention it. If you replace your draw with Dredging, then the Consecrated Sphinx doesn't draw any cards?
Tom has a built-in way to trump.
That's hilarious. Wow, he's got a Fate Stitcher now off that draw phase. Did he get anything else interesting? Is that another Bloodghast? He's out of land, though. But he's out of land, so. Dread Return would be relevant if you could ever find one of those. Fate Stitcher's not irrelevant. Dredge does, in fact, beat Consecrated Sphinx, says the chat. Dredge also beats Notion Thief, for the record. Makes sense. Well, here's 7 damage. You just throw 3 at Jace and 4 at Eric, right?
I think so. You know, you don't want to let the Jace.
I see. Eric kept that Trinket Mage so that he can go get a Mox, so that he can guaranteed find the 6th mana.
Oh, he can get Black Lotus. Yeah.
Oh, does Black Lotus do it right away? He plays Trinket Mage for 3, plays a land, plays a Black Lotus. No, he's 1 short.
No, yeah.
I mean, maybe the Lotus is better than the Mox anyway, but it's not good enough to, wow.
He's hard casting Narcomoeba.
Hilarious.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah, Trinket Mage for Black Lotus breaks even on mana. It doesn't turn a profit. But he needs to turn a 1 mana profit to get Consecrated Sphinx down this turn. Still, I mean, the 2/2, he'll block and trade probably. Wow, he gets the cage.
Yeah, surprisingly,
it's surprising to me.
Yeah, Tom has not maxed out. I mean, these past couple turns.
Oh, there's an Icarid in the yard now. So this does stop. It stops an Icarid immediately, and it stops him from casting Fate Stitcher, which would have been lethal. Yeah, I guess he has to get the cage, and now he has to top deck a land for Consecrated Sphinx. But if this was the only line that could win in the game, I think Eric's right. He still needed a cage.
The other thing is if he lets that trinket mage die, the bridges in Tom's graveyard are going to go away.
Great point.
Which is one of the key ways that he's going to try and evade this cage. I'm surprised Tom has not come out guns a-blazing here. Been a little slow. Are they on turn 5? Is that what that says? Wow.
I mean, he got his Bazaar wasted.
Yeah, that's true. That shows you how much time the Wasteland on the Bazaar buys you. Incredible.
Oh, yeah, it does. So he does, Trinket Mage dying does remove the bridge from Tom's graveyard. Eric down to 7. If he needs to top deck a land right now, he had to get the cage, and then his second runner, if you will, is sort of runner out. Well, time walk. We'll cycle that and see what happens. If he comes up with a mana and he can play a Consecrated Sphinx, then blocking does become sort of relevant.
Here we go.
Oh, he has to crack the fetch land, which is less than ideal. Are there dredgers left? Or is he actually going to get these draw triggers?
Yeah, Tom has got to dredge. You can't give him draws.
Yeah, there's still a Golgari Thug in there. And a Stinkweed Imp. All right, so yeah, Consecrated Sphinx is not drawing any extra cards. Now, how relevant is the blocking? Eric is going to take 4 followed by 2, according to my read of this board, and be able to win in 2 attacks, even through the Consecrated Sphinx. So Eric's not done. He needs another top deck, if I'm reading this board correctly.
Eric is putting up the fight.
Oh, yeah. He's a good Magic player, it turns out. Where are we now? Tom's upkeep? Yeah, Tom's upkeep. Not sure what's left to think about. It's just he has to dredge, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to give any free cards away.
I mean, the dredging doesn't do Tom any good, but it does deny Eric 2 cards.
Exactly. And plus, if you get these bridges in your graveyard, then that's how you're going to win this. This is actually really interesting.
I agree.
I wouldn't have thought, but I guess Strip Mine plus Cage plus a large creature can hit you pretty far.
Yeah, we keep winding up in these games. They're like, well, this isn't how this is supposed to go. It's like all vintage games are weird at some level.
Which gives it so much replay value.
Oh, yeah. It's like, fine, a third of your games are just blowouts where somebody effectively wins the game in the first 2 turns. But it's not a majority of the games. It's like a third, right? Half of which you win, half of which you lose. Then the other 2/3 of the games, they just keep going into crazy directions. All right, Tom does dredge the Golgari Thug. That does beat the Consecrated Sphinx. Tom was probably pausing there to try to understand how that ruling works. Yeah. And yeah, smash. Just send him in. This will get through 4 damage, and Eric has to play something on his next turn. Has to stop the beats.
I love how we have to look up rulings on all these matches.
Oh, right, and he can hardcast Golgari Thug. So now Eric's got to do even more. Divining Top. All right. Not dead yet.
Yeah. Force of Will, the next Thug. Yeah, Eric is at 2.
Yeah, I don't know. He needs 2 blockers.
Right. That 1/1 is gonna get there unless you can do something.
Yeah, that Golgari Thug's super relevant.
Yep.
Yeah.
How amazing. How great is this is incredible.
Cool format. Is that your story? You're sticking to it?
Yeah, I'm right there. And I think this is huge because these post-board games, are going to be very.
Yeah, if Tom loses the first game, he's in a lot of trouble. That's certainly true. Tom, the sideboarding is definitely going to favor Eric. I think we have the deck list. We can actually bring those up. I think we have Eric's first, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look at that and see how much dredge hate he, in fact, does have in his sideboard. I mean, the way Vintage works, you kind of have to sideboard 5, 8 cards against dredge because they're just attacking you from this crazy angle. And if you're not ready for them after sideboarding, then you got problems. They just, most main decks do not interact with them. So he's got 2 more cages and still the Trinket Mages to go get them. Propaganda is actually pretty solid here, isn't it?
Definitely 100% bringing in. That's moat.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard for Tom to beat that. So he's going to have to bring in all his anti. I mean, that's essentially his ley lines.
Yeah, and then he's got a Tormod's Crypt as well, which again,
Crypt
Trinket Mages can go get.
Really nice, yeah.
So solid 6-card sideboard here.
He's probably going to board out. This is what's interesting is he doesn't have a lot the Wasteland, which a lot of these mono blue decks run. So he's going to probably have to keep in the back to basics to keep just on the off chance of keeping down,
locking down a Bazaar.
Well, look,
you don't need like Mana Drain is terrible in this matchup, right?
Yeah, mental misstep is the best. Force and mental misstep are staying in. Repeal is iffy. I mean, you could,
Spell Snare is out. Like Mana Drain Spell Snare is 7 cards right there.
Yeah, there you go. Spell Snare is the first to get cut. There's I guess the only thing you could Spell Snare is like a hard cast Thug or Bloodghast. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah, he's only got 6 to bring in, so he probably actually leaves all Mana Drain. Not a great matchup for Eric, but
I would cut Trap, the 3 Spell Snares, and probably the 2 Repeals. I would actually probably keep the Mana Drain just to protect
propaganda.
Protect Propaganda.
Over Repeal? You can cycle a Repeal at least.
So he's bringing in 2 Cage, 3 Propaganda, and 1 Crypt. That's 6 cards. So I'd cut the 3 Snares, the 1 Trap, and the 2 Repeal.
All right. Yeah. Well, let's look at Tom's sideboard. Yeah, so he's got ley lines in case he ran into the mirror. It's Nature's Claim is the card that's almost certainly going to come in. Nature's Claim and or Chain of Vapor.
Yeah.
Ingot Chewer, Wismere. His sideboard is basically ways to blow up the other guy's sideboard cards. And that's what you have to do with Dredge.
He's got to bring down
the match. I'm curious how many of those you think Dredge is supposed to bring in the average matchup.
He's going to bring in all 10, I think.
Wow.
Mental misstep, that's probably going to get cut. Maybe some Dredgers. I don't even think he really needs to go the combo finish. He might just cut the combo package entirely. It's really hard to say, but I mean he's got to stop Propaganda. Propaganda just prevents him from winning. Period.
Fair enough. Let's go see what happens. Tom managed to win the first game, dredging the old-fashioned way, I guess, using his draw phase after his Bizarre Baghdad got strip mined. But he got there. Eric fought the good fight. Could not block enough things.
Wow. Eric has a pretty good opening hand. He's got the misstep and back to basics and Propaganda and Trinket Mage. So he's got the trifecta.
Wow. Tom has a 7-card hand with 2 Bazaars.
And Unmasked. So he's going
to Unmask, yeah.
And if you play the Unmask here, which of these cards are you going to strip out, Randy?
Probably the back to basics, honestly.
Yeah, they're all nightmare.
Actually, maybe Trinket Mage is worse because it is a cage.
I would probably actually take out the back to basics. I think he's gonna just keep this one. I wouldn't play another Bazaar here. Well, there could be a case to be made for just stripping out the Propaganda and trying to go win.
Yeah, Cage is not happening next turn. Cage can't happen until the turn after.
And with double Bazaar, he could try and win on turn 2. So this is a really tough decision here. Really
He's
tricky.
Also got a Nature's Claim that could potentially blow up one of those enchantments, but he does not have any green mana.
Right.
And he failed to draw any colored mana, so...
He's got to make a roll decision right now.
That sounds exactly right. Wow, had to keep the bridge in his hand as the pitch card for the Unmasked, but hey, do what you got to do. This is going to resolve.
I mean, he could have discarded the bridge and pitched the Bloodghast here, but he decided that had more value, I guess.
Well, so you think he takes Propaganda and tries to win next turn?
Well, it's interesting. If he had, certainly the second Bazaar is going to... That looks like what his plan is.
He gets the Bazaar twice next turn.
Right. That looks to be his plan. But it's interesting that did he discard 2 Bloodghasts in the... Is that what he did?
I believe so.
So he kept
the Dredgers?
Yeah, he kept that was strange.
He kept the Grave Troll in his hand? I mean, he's worried about Tormod's, but it's a 1-of. That is surprising to me. Yeah, he thinks that he wants Bloodghast's value. All right, well, he does take the Propaganda.
Can't quarrel with that. I mean, it's all a role question. So if you want to go the long game or longer game, I guess you might want to take the back to basics to allow you to make plays, or the trinket mage to prevent you from developing.
I think back to basics is the last one I would take. I think the trinket mage is more important. Wow, the fact that Eric drew a Mox there means he can play the trinket mage and the Grafdigger's Cage. He had to draw a Mox to be able to play Grafdigger's Cage on the second turn,
This is incredible.
but he did. Crazy.
We're gonna have a mental misstep fight.
Yeah.
And this really punishes Tom's decision to bin both Bloodghast instead of the bridge.
Definitely. The bridge or the Grave Troll. All right, here's Grafdigger's Cage. Tom has to try to stop it with Misstep. It shuts down everything that his deck does. But Eric has the Misstep of his own, and Tom knows it. I guess for Tom, it's just a question of whether he wants to bother. Yeah, because he knows that Eric has the Misstep, he's not even going to bother casting his own. He'd rather have a card in hand so that he can keep a future card with a Bazaar.
It also gets tricky here because if he uses his Bazaar, well, okay, he didn't. He went straight to his draw step.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. No, did he? No, he hasn't yet. He's still in his.
We're in his main phase. It says.
He drew the Stinkweed.
Yeah, he drew Stinkweed in.
He decided not to even dredge his upkeep.
He didn't do well.
Really, because he really has to find his 5-color mana source here.
Yeah, well, which he does. So activates the Bazaar, drawing naturally off the top of his deck. Needed to hit colored mana to turn on the Nature's Claim so that he can kill that Grafdigger's Cage. And did it.
That's the best 5-color land against back to basics too. The Undiscovered Paradise has a clause that trumps back to basics, so that's nice.
That is a fine point. The fact that the Undiscovered Paradise comes back to your hand after you use it is a good thing when it wasn't going to untap anyway. Wow, and he kept his mental misstep, so he will win the mental misstep fight over this Grafdigger's Cage. I assume he's just going to do that all main phase, right?
I actually probably, it's tricky. You got to be afraid of him drawing.
I guess I don't think he wants to let Eric draw another card.
Right, that's the trick. I mean, he knows the 2 cards in his hand right now, but if he, you don't wait at this point. But he's got 2.
Oh, can he kill it as a response to those triggers? Yeah, he can, right? He keeps Nature's Claim at Grafdigger's Cage as a response to the triggers. When those triggers resolve, no cage. Eric will, of course, fight with mental misstep, but Tom's got one of his own. Wow, what a turnaround!
This is incredible.
This is incredible. Tom just bazared into perfects, and he found the colored mana he needed. He wins the misstep fight there, able to blow up the cage, able to get his Bloodghast back.
Yeah, the key play was he declined to use the Bazaar in his upkeep, knowing that if he used it, he would have very few cards in his hand and fewer options.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's sitting pretty nice, actually.
I agree. I mean, once again, his Bazaar has been locked down by Eric. He's going to be forced to use his draw phase to dredge, but it looks good enough to me here.
Yeah. He doesn't even necessarily. If I were him, I probably wouldn't even use the Nature's Claim on this back to basics. You can just dredge naturally, keep that Nature's Claim up in case he draws top.
I agree. Yeah, so he does dredge the Grave Troll, spills some stuff, including a Grave Troll. This block means any bridge that's in there would go away, but I don't think there is a bridge.
This game is also underscores the point that dredge actually is decision intensive. It's not all rote.
Right. It's also it doesn't roll over to one sideboard card. I mean, especially you saw what 10 cards Tom potentially could have brought in. I'm not sure he brought in the chains, but I mean, you can bring in enough ways to blow up your opponent's sideboard cards that you can still win through a sideboard card, through a couple of sideboard cards, through a couple of sideboard cards, and them stopping your Bazaar in this case.
Wismare is a really good reason to keep in the drains. That's hard. That's pretty hard to stop without force. And he's got main deck Ingot Chewers, which can blow up these cages and this cage anyway.
Wow, and then Undiscovered brings back the Bloodghast, which had just traded for that.
So nice. That Undiscovered Paradise is a workhorse right here.
Yeah,
it's showing everything. So he decided to get rid of the back to basics just to accelerate his game.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Mana drain up now for Eric. If he gets to mana drain something, he can drop a Consecrated Sphinx, but that sure does not look anywhere close to fast enough.
Now Tom gets to go crazy.
Whee!
Wow.
Fill it up.
Control. Where's that Tormod script? He's not even playing spells, unfortunately, for Eric.
Right.
So anything I could mana drain, Eric's thinking. Just play anything. He'd mana drain a one caster here, I'm sure.
Where are we now? Tom's trying to figure out what else to do and what to attack with. He's got to be. He does have one bridge from below now, or are there two in there?
And are there any therapies in there right now?
I mean, the Trinket Mage is annoying in that it can block and kill his bridges.
Right. He wants the therapy first.
Yeah, he's going to therapy first. Does he know about the Consecrated Sphinx? Okay, so he could ball therapy to named Mental Misstep, it sounds like. No, he hit the Consecrated Sphinx. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, from the previous Cabal.
He knows his bridges are not long for this graveyard, so.
Right. Let's get some value while we can. Yeah, Eric, point to mana drain. Better than losing it. And he'll have an extra mana next turn to do who knows what with. Probably not much. Now the Bloodghast, which had been sacrificed in order to flash back those Cabal therapies, come back because the Undiscovered Paradise is just so perfect as the rainbow land in this deck. Now the zombies, and now what? He can fly over and keep his bridges for another turn. He has spilled the Flamekin Zealot. I don't know if and I see a Dread Return. So he could actually Flamekin Dread Return here, if I'm not mistaken. If he sacks Narcomoeba, 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 he'll get Zombie, Zombie, Zombie. And then all of a sudden, he's going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, all of which are 3 power. You know what? You know what 7 times 3 is?
21.
21. It is Eric's life total. That's what 7 times 3 is. Exacxes. Dredge doesn't do Exacxes very often.
And it's hard to actually tell what Tom sided out. It looks like he's got everything. He's got his Mental Missteps. He's got his entire Dread Return package.
Wow. The Dredge Menace, 3-0. Martell comes all the way back. He goes 0-3 with the sort of cool, dirtily, fast bond, gush, kill you with Tendrils of Agony deck. But 3-0 with Dredge. Wanted to make everyone else as miserable as he was at 0-3. I don't know if I'm miserable. That was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, he's proved a couple important points. One is he's trying to keep us honest.
Yeah. He's also trying to win and doing a much better job of it this set.
Yeah, no one is going to underestimate Dredge in the next couple of weeks.
It's true.
And he also illustrated just how tightly you really need to play in some of that. I mean, he made a lot of critical decisions in that game.
No, he made it good, but he played great in earlier weeks too. Like the match against Martell against Maher that he won. Super awesome game of Vintage.
If he had Bizarred in his upkeep, he would have lost a lot of cards and not been able to do everything. So
great point.
And Eric drew, I mean, one of the best opening hands you could possibly have. He had everything he needed.
Not good enough. So Eric now drops to 4-2. So he's a match behind you. It's you and Luis tied for first at 5-1. It's Eric and Chris tied for second at 4-2. And then fifth place is some number of 3-3s that I'm starting to lose track of. Martell and Williams, I guess, are the only two. Yeah, it'll be Martell and Williams at 3-3.
So we've got a lot of players clustering, like at different record points.
Yeah, 2 5-1s, 2 4-2s, 2 3-3s, 2 2-4s right now. The last match of the day, though, we go to the other side of the standings, the bottom. Josh Utter-Layton has 1 win. Bob Maher doesn't have any wins. Bob is either going to be tied for 9th or 2 matches behind the 2-4s.
Randy, I've got a critical question for you. So the players get to change decks we all get to change decks the next 3 weeks.
Yes.
But we also get to change after those 3 weeks for the top 4 or the players who are in the top?
Yeah, so the way it works is at the end of the regular season, you get to change decks. You get 1 deck for all playoff matches, whether they're tiebreakers for seeding, whether they're the finals, whether what for all postseason matches will be played with your 4th deck.
So essentially, players will play potentially 4 different decks the course of this tournament.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty awesome.
That was a great match, actually. I really enjoyed it.
You got to join us. I don't know if you had more you wanted to talk about from your match with LSD, or is it more just I know you make a habit of actually going and streaming, rewatching the tape, sort of talking through all your decisions. I'm sure you're going to do that with that one, huh?
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely misplayed, and it was a great game, and there were a lot of critical decisions. I think there were at least 3 plays I'd like to take back. I think one of them involved the Snapcaster Mage, but I think the other was I think I decided to kill his Snapcaster Mage when I probably shouldn't have, just because I have so many blockers.
Well, not the way the game played out. Like, you were actually, at 10. That one didn't. I mean, maybe. Obviously, you'll go back and look at it. Do you still feel like your take on the matchup is correct, that you can win the long game there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the game 1, I was 50-50 on whether to mulligan. But I just made a decision. I'm going to lose the Library of Alexandria, but I'm going to pretty much be able to beat everything else. And I kept in 1 Delver. So I sideboarded out 3 Delvers.
Okay.
And I was 50-50 on bringing in additional Wastelands. But the only reason I'd have the Wastelands is for his library. Null Rod is just purely tactical. It just takes out Time Vault and all that nonsense and some of his surplusage mana. But it's not a mana denial strategy. You saw the game play out. I could have easily won that game a number of different ways. It was just one of those forever games, and LSV is have to bow down to his playability. So.
It's a good Magic player. The chat is saying you should bring back Doomsday for the playoffs.
Well, if I make it, we'll certainly consider it.
Certainly sitting in good shape at 5-1 with a cut to top 4, though I think 6-0 probably would have clinched it. Yeah. All right, well, thanks for hanging out with us. I look forward to see what you come up with next week. I figure your range is about as wide as anybody in this format. I feel like I have no idea. And you even get 2 weeks while everybody else is distracted playing a Pro Tour.
I'll have to make the most of it. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you inviting me into this tournament, Randy. This has been great fun.
Yeah, it's been fun having you. All right, we will be back momentarily. We're going to bring Eric Froehlich in, and we got 1 match left to go. Bob Maher will take on Josh Utter-Layton momentarily.